verses 11 to 32. I'm clearly too short. Jesus continued, There was a man who had 2 sons. The younger one said to him, Father, give me my share of the estate. So he divided his property between them. Not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. After he had spent everything, there was a severe famine in that whole country, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to a citizen of that country, who sent him to his fields to feed pigs. He longed to fill his stomach with the pods that the pigs were eating, but no one gave him anything. When he came to his senses, he said, How many of my father's hired servants have food to spare? And here I am, starving to death. I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. So he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. The son said to him, Father, I've sinned against heaven and against you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Quick, bring the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it. Let's have a feast and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is now alive. He was lost and is found. So they began to celebrate. Meanwhile, the older son was in the field. When he came near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked him what was going on. Your brother has come, he replied. And your father has killed the fattened calf because he has him back safe and sound. The older brother became angry and refused to go in. So his father went out and pleaded with him. But he answered his father, Look, all these years I've been slaving for you and never disobeyed your orders. Yet you never gave me even a young goat so I could celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours, who has squandered your property with prostitutes, comes home, you kill the fattened calf for him. My son, the father said, You're always with me, and everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate and be glad, because this brother of yours was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. This is the word of the Lord.
Lord, we bless you, for you are good, you are kind. And so we ask that you speak to us. Good morning again. Oh, well, I hadn't said good morning. Good morning. Yeah. So I'm Edgar King. I was here last weekend, and I'm so glad to be back with this church family. Thanks for trying. No, it's great. Sorry, I just wanted a bit shorter. So I remember a few months ago, I was driving to the airport. A friend of mine, he works with Vineyard Missions USA. He was visiting, and we were having a lot of strategic conversations for both movements working together. And so we had meetings in Nairobi, then we went to Nakuru, where I live, and then drove him back in time for dinner with a friend, and just we had enough time to go to the airport. And so on the drive to the airport, I was driving, just stories and music and laughing, and we were on Mombasa Road. I hate the expressway, so here's how you make sure Google Maps doesn't give you the expressway. You go to your settings and do avoid tolls. So I had done that. And then all of a sudden, I just realized I'm not getting to the airport. It's like I keep missing a turn. So I start doing the round back, and I'm back on Mombasa Road. And once again, I'm not at the airport. I'm just, in some shanty town somewhere there. Near the go downs, I can see that I'm close to the airport, but I'm not in the airport, obviously. So I'm seeing planes land and take off. That's where I want to be. but I had to accept that I'd just gotten lost. I'd just gotten lost. And so we did it again and again. We had enough time. But I began to realize, the margin I thought we had for his flight is now getting thin. So at this point, men decide to ask for help. And so I'm looking at the security guards who walk around the area, because if they work around the area, they might know a thing or two better than me. So, hey, do you know how I could get to the airport from here? Yeah, just go join the road. So I'm driving through. This is a very dingy part of, I don't know if that's the right word, but pardon me, but it's a very crazy town, part of town. I'm stepping on beer bottles and who knows what other bottles are there. I'm just hearing them crash. And then to join the road, I went right through a ditch. And anyway, finally, I get on the road, and guess what? I still had to use the expressway. But, if you've been on the expressway, there's just this short distance where you can see the entrance of the airport. So I get to the paying station, and, because of COVID, I wasn't really using cash, and I don't have cash. And they don't take M-Pesa. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? And she insists that she cannot help us. And if you're lost, you're lost. You've got to admit you're lost and you need help, right? And so she asked, so another driver drives up to the other lane, and she asks him if he could help us, and he agreed. And vroom, just drove right into the airport, never said goodbye to my friend. Just, we could always do that over text. The truth is, what's lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. It cannot find itself. The aftermath actually is I had broken my fuel tank. So the next day, I had fixed really quick. I was actually going to the State House. Don't read any political alignment in that. I was just going to the State House. It's a people's house. And so I was going to the State House, and I got stuck right outside the gates. And I'm seeing all these police officers. I'm like, oh my word, what will they think on the day the president is being inaugurated? I am there with a not moving car. So what's lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself, and there are always repercussions when we're lost. But you know what? Unless you realize you're lost, unless you admit you're lost, you don't even start finding your way out. You don't ask for help. So my invitation today is, once we begin to accept how lost we are, we can turn our eyes on to Jesus. There is, growing offense at the idea of people being lost. And I meet people who don't follow Jesus. Their objections usually are, but what if I'm a good person? I do all the right things. I live right. I help the poor. Do I really need Jesus? Others say, why does Jesus have to be the only way? Some of them live better lives than people who come to church. And so they're going, but I've seen people of church. Really? Is that what you're inviting me to? But whatever the argument we make, people say, hey, these are my private choices. Who am I hurting? My dress, my choice. Nairobi slogan. No, I'm just sorry. Forgive me. I'm from Nakuru. I might say a few things that Nairobi people don't like. So, the truth is, whatever arguments we make, if you're lost, and you won't find yourself. You won't find yourself. Increasingly, our culture is getting offended by the need for a savior, but the problem is that doesn't make people any less lost. And it's only a matter of time that before you realize, oh, by the way, I've been lost a long time and my fuel tank is broken. The picture you have of the good life, we all want peace. But some people might say, I don't want peace, I want problems. Anyway, we all want peace. We want joy. The picture you have of the good life, this and more is what Jesus calls life under the rule and reign of the kingdom of God. And when Jesus would talk about life in sin, he would often use the word lost. When something is lost, if you lost your pet isn't bad, it's lost. If your child went out playing and they got lost, you don't have a bad child, they're lost. So this is actually a very compassionate way to look at it. It's like, hey, we all want the good life. You're trying to get to the airport, but then soon you realize, oh, the planes are landing and setting there, but I'm here. I'm not where I was going. What's lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. And whether you admit that you're lost or not, it doesn't make you any less lost. It doesn't. And if you think about it, people have tried to achieve the good life. People have tried to achieve the good life. So the world has been trying to achieve the good life by democracy. Look at all the countries that were heralded for democracy and the craziness that's happening there. Kenya is getting ready. We have long weekends every other week. Work for 3 days and then just stay home. The world tried with the sexual revolution and we thought, oh, finally people will be free. And guess what? People are sadder than ever. Economic reforms, capitalism, socialism. And all we've achieved is even more economic depression. What's lost is lost, it's lost. It cannot find itself. Well, even personally, people have tried. I guess you have. New relationships, one after the other. Buying handbags when you can. My friend Mary has a problem. No, she's changed. She's gone through counseling. No. Sexual exploration, food, travel, marriage, religion. Not even bad things. Not even bad things. But what have people achieved? Loneliness is a bigger pandemic than COVID was. Deeper emptiness, broken relationships everywhere. The truth is, what is lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. So, we turn our eyes on Jesus. We turn our eyes on Jesus. This is why, listen, C.S. Lewis said about Jesus, he's either a madman, if you think about the kind of things Jesus claimed of himself, he's either a mad person who thinks these things to be true of him when they're not. If you start walking around thinking you're the president, oh wow, that could actually, sorry, let me just use a different example. It's if you start walking around thinking you're a pilot and you're not, you could be mad, right? So either Jesus was mad, thinking of himself things that are not true, or he was a very evil person, saying things of himself, drawing out hope in people, knowing they're not true, or they were actually true. So Jesus says, I have come to seek and save the lost, because what is lost can be found. The difference is it cannot find itself, but it can be found. So that's why we turn our eyes on Jesus. So in Luke 15, Jesus is giving a couple stories. Jesus taught with stories. The thing is, human beings, we are creatures of narratives. That's why you're addicted to Netflix, because stories make you see yourself. Like I've often told people, if I want to know if we'll vibe, I ask you, hey, in this show, who do you think you are? And if you say a character I don't like, that's it, great time. So Jesus often taught with stories because people ended up going, oh, I can see that, I can relate to that. So he told 3 different stories actually right before he told the one we've read. The first one he told was of a lost sheep. A farmer had 100, one got lost. Now, How many of you, for so many people that story is familiar, but how many of you have ever realized that this sheep got lost doing nothing but being sheep? It was just feeding, and then it got lost. Friends of mine had a wedding last year, and someone gifted them a goat for you cannot have a Kenyan wedding if a goat doesn't go. So someone gifted them a goat, and they were fattening it. Sorry for anyone who's vegan here. It's just, this is what was happening back home. So they were fattening it, and they were getting it ready for the wedding day, and then this goat just disappeared. Now, what was that goat doing? It was just being a goat. This sheep got lost being sheep. It was not trying to be naughty. It was not trying to punish the farmer. Some of you are lost not because you're bad people. You're just being human. You're just following your desire for freedom. You're just following your desire for love. You're following your desire for fulfillment. You're following your desire for affection, things that God actually put in us. You're just being human, and then you find yourself lost. You got where you are today just by being human. But that doesn't make you any less lost. What is lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. So we turn our eyes on Jesus. So what is the response of the shepherd? So the shepherd goes to seek this sheep at all costs. Now you see, that community, I don't know how many of us have seen sheep lately. Nakuru is a mix of city and farm, so we see sheep quite often. In Nairobi, you've got to go a little further out. But you see, if you're a farmer and you lose one of your sheep, you've got to start thinking like it. You go, where would it have gone? Okay, now there's a river here. Where would it have crossed? Right? You've got to start thinking like the sheep, trying to trace it and go, oh wow, this place has a lot of dogs. It doesn't like dogs. Where would it have turned? Do you see how much the shepherd has to do? Forget leaving the 99, which seems careless even, right? It's like, wait, what about these ones? I've got to find that one. And oftentimes, sometimes people feel that's a very careless story, and it's okay. I don't think Jesus tells stories so that we all go, yes, that has to be it. He invites people to wrestle with his story. And I've met people who've told me, especially people who have just recently started following Jesus, that go, but why leave the 99 for this one sheep? And it's a good point to wrestle with. And sometimes it's upsetting that Jesus leaves the 99 until you're the one that needs coming for, right? And so, but when you get the sheep, guess what you have to do? You've got to carry it on your shoulders, and we have very nice pictures of a shepherd carrying a sheep on his shoulders. It's not very pretty. It stinks. And then the weight of it all is on your shoulders as you carry it all the way back home. But also, it's playing around. Sheep doesn't just sit like, oh, guess what? I'm being carried. No, it wants to get down on the ground. Right? So this is the struggle the shepherd is going through to get this sheep back to safety. That's the response of Jesus. Then he tells the story of a lost coin. There's a lady who has some money. I don't know what she's doing with it. And then she loses one. Finds it, then throws a party. I'm like, okay, come on. Now you spent more money. But here's the thing. I have a friend who has several pairs of glasses because she keeps losing them. But guess what? They don't do anything. They just sit where you put them. They don't go, oh, she's out of the room. Let's hide. No, things like keys, coins, glasses just sit where you put them. Some of you are lost not by any action of your own, but because God's world is broken. And there's a war going on. Some of you are lost because your parent left you with scars and you act out from those scars. Some of you are lost because your mother was an alcoholic and you tried all you could and ended up looking at the bottom of the barrel also. Some of you grew up in dire poverty and it led you to make bad decisions for survival, and you know that's how you live. Some of you are lost not for any action of your own, but it seems life in God's broken world has dealt you a bad card and left you with traces of bitterness, anxiety, addiction, and pushing people away. But it doesn't make you any less lost. What is lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. You're here for no fault of your own. What's lost, it's lost, it's lost. It cannot find yourself. So turn your eyes on Jesus instead. So what is the response of the Father? Like a diligent woman, throws everything upside down, ransacks the house for this coin. The whole house is turned upside down. If you don't yet realize it, God is pursuing you with everything He's got. God is pursuing your family members that you've been praying for with everything He's got. Then He tells the story that we just read of a lost son. This young man did unthinkable things. These are the stories we teach in Sunday school. They're not very sanitary, are they? This kid literally told his father, "You are dead to me." My dad visited me a couple months back and he said, "Hey, we need to have dinner. We have important things to talk about." When your father says that, you're like, "Okay, I've got to go. Everything closed down." And I go to him and we have great dinner and he says, "So, I have only 15 years to live." I'm like, what is going on? And if anything, 15 years is a long time. Anyway, but he's not sick or anything. As people age, they become aware of their own mortality, right? And so he's like, "Hey, I only have 15 years to live. We need to talk about land." I'm like, "Whoa, we had land?" I was happy about that. But it would be very ridiculous. So African culture is a lot like the culture Jesus is speaking to at this point. It would be very ridiculous if I told my dad, "Okay, now that I've found out we have land, tomorrow we're going to the lawyers because I need my share." I'm like, whoa. Because essentially what I'm telling my dad is, I am better at handling the family's blessing and wealth than you. You could be dead now and it wouldn't make a difference. That's essentially what this kid told his dad. "You're dead to me and I'm better at life than you." And then he went on and got lost. You see, he's saying, "I want to cut myself from you. I wish you were dead and I can do a better job than you." Some of us are lost because of our bad choices. Right? We have heard the truth, but we have decided we are better at life than God. We know what scriptures think and we're like, "Nah, I think the scriptures are a bit too ancient to speak into my life. We're better at life than God." So we look at scripture's prescription for sex and sexuality, marriage, money, community, worship, and we think those are great ideas. They worked 3,000 years ago. We're better at life than God. And this is exactly what happened in the garden when sin first entered our relationship with God, because the lie has always been the same. The lie the enemy tells is always, "Hey, you can be the one who decides what is wrong or right. God doesn't have to prescribe it." And so some of us, what eventually happens is that then you rebel against God, which a whole other sermon is joining the rebellion that has been going on, led by the Satan. Anyway, so you join that rebellion and you're against God and you're thinking, "I am better at this. I can do this. I can decide how my life is going." And then soon you realize you're looking at the good life You're looking at everything you desired, but you're just not there. It's like it's within sight, but a little out of reach. When Jesus walked on earth, he would often preach, repent for the kingdom of God is at hand. Now, one way is, it's a whole big theology, the kingdom of God, but one of the ways I want you to think about it, at least for now, is the good life, is life under the rule and reign of God. And Jesus is saying, repent because the good life is within reach. Like literally, all you have to do is stretch your hand and you will reach it. That's how close God is to us. But outside of the kingdom of God, the good life is within sight, but not within reach. But what is lost is lost, it's lost. It cannot find itself. It cannot find itself. I mean, we've all tried. We've all tried getting to the good life by our own means. If we're very honest, because sometimes it's good to be honest in church. I mean, even outside of church, but church gives us a great opportunity to be honest with ourselves. We've tried. How does the father respond? Every day he's looking over, going, is my son coming back today? Every day he's looking over, is my son coming back today? Then when he does see him, it's the father who runs. Here's what the father is doing. The villagers, you do not disrespect Amze in that culture, just much like our cultures. The villagers would have met him on the road and shunned him. A very, very visible actions to shun him. By the father running towards him, he is protecting him from what is coming his way, which we would argue he rightly deserves. This is the picture of grace. The Father comes and meets us to keep us from what we deserve. And then he doesn't just keep him from what he deserves, he restores him. How dare he puts a new garment on him? That's the Father's heart. He gives him one with dignity. He's sitting at the party table next to his father as if he never left. What's lost is lost is lost. But when we turn our eyes on Jesus, he finds us. Now, there's this other lost son that we don't often talk about. The eldest son is equally lost. Now, the truth is about my airport escapades, I don't know, that sounds a little wrong, but I mean, my stories about the airport. I have gotten lost inside the airport twice. One, I was picking my brother, the other one was picking a friend of mine. And I was there. One waited for at least an hour because I was just going round and round. I'm just wondering, why do we need all these terminals so far apart? Where is the parking lot? Oh, now I have to drive outside the airport to come back in. I am in the airport and I am still lost. You see, it's possible to be lost while still in the Father's house. We've always had a sense there's something wrong with this kid. But, sometimes we don't quite put our finger on it. The boy asks very legitimate questions. Like, you've never even given me just one goat. I don't want the big calf, but just a goat to celebrate with my friends. I've been faithful. If we're very honest, we feel that a lot of times. Some of us are certainly in this space as we process our own sense of faithfulness. I'm like, I've been faithful to you, God, but they get the job promotion. I've been faithful to you, God, but they seem to be blessed. I've been faithful, but they seem forgiven. What madness is this? What else must I do? But there's something beautiful about the Father's response. You've always been here with me. What I have is yours. Despite being home, he didn't learn how to enter into the Father's delight and rest. Some of us are sons living like paid servants. Some of us are daughters living like paid servants. He is in the Father's house, but he's living like a paid servant. He's not delighting, he's not partying, he's not resting. And so many people are in church, but they have no joy in salvation. So many people are in church, but finding no healing. They remain bitter, angry. They work extra hard to win salvation, fearing that the moment they mess up, God is done with them. You're in the Father's house, but finding no rest. Here are a few ways to know if you're lost while in the Father's house. Bitterness is one good indication. Continued pattern of sin that you've decided to find ways to explain away. Oh, but I don't do this, is one good example. If you're extremely judgmental about sinners, wishing that the church would have been a bit more stern with them because you are certain that that's how God would have responded to them. How could they? How could they? And sometimes you feel that God himself is lenient. It's the story of, who's this guy? Who's swallowed Jonah. Jonah is going, no, I can't go there. You will forgive them. Jonah's problem isn't with the sinners. Jonah's problem is between him and God. He's not entering rest. He's not delighting in the Father. And he is exporting that to the Father. You are way too merciful. If you let me be God for just one day, I'll show you what to do with such people. You're struggling with intimacy with both God and others. Because how could you enter rest? How could you slip up and be happy? How could you slip up and be seen for who you truly are? See, just because you're in the Father's house, sometimes we are lost, and what's lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. And the response in all cases is the same. You see, when you see something lost, as I was saying earlier, you have compassion on it. If you're driving and you see a lost dog, a lost puppy. Dogs don't follow you around unless they know you or they're rabid. But if you see a lost puppy, puppies can follow you around, right? You don't go, oh, how terrible dog you are. You have compassion on it. You're in town and a lost kitten starts following you around. I know a few people who just pick lost kittens. It's just ridiculous. Like, leave it alone. Compassion is God's response to what is lost. Now, compassion and extravagant love. In all these stories, one common thread in the response is just God's immense compassion. And compassion isn't a word for just mushy feelings. Compassion is a word to say that there's such deep love that causes you to act in response to it. If people are going, oh, the God of the Old Testament is this and this and that, and people talk about that, here is Jesus saying, no, this is who God always is, always will be. Because Jesus came to show us the image of God. He takes initiative and pays the price. It's like finally knowing that I had no choice but to drive on the expressway. Somebody else paid that price for me. This is God's response all the time. All the time. And I think he finishes the story with the two sons because it's always the story of the prodigal father. Prodigal really means extravagant. And guess what? God is extravagant. You see, long before you've repented, he has moved towards you. Long before you've repented, the Father sees you coming. Long before you've done your nice speech, God, I know I messed up. God, long before all that, the Father sees you from afar and he runs towards you. In all stories, there's an invitation to repentance. There's a part we play. You've got to turn around. If you keep going and stepping on those bottles and the things that are just behind the airport but not in the airport, what will happen is you will break more than your gas tank. If you keep going in the same direction, lost plus more lost isn't now any better. It's still lost. So there has to be a change. Here's what repentance means. Change the way, in light of the truth you've received, change the way you think about these things and live your life from that new place. In light of the truth you've received, change your mind, because as a person thinks, so they are. It starts, the biggest weapon the enemy uses against the people of God are lies. So change your mind about how you think about what you think about God, what you think about yourself, what you think about humanity, what you think about life itself, and in light of the gospel of the kingdom of God, and then start living your life from that place. It takes a change of lifestyle too. Grace is not opposed to work, because sometimes we juxtapose those two. Grace is opposed to earning. You cannot earn your place in God's kingdom. I used to struggle with Paul saying, saved by grace, everything is free. And then James, the pastor in Jerusalem, saying, faith without work is dead. I'm like, James, you missed it. After all, he started following Jesus later on. So I'm like, you missed a few sermons. No, actually, these two are one thing, because, and then again, then one day at a different place, Paul says, work out your salvation with fear and trembling. I'm like, Paul, please make up your mind. No, it's one and the same, because the things we do are a practice into the life that God has already called us. So there has to be a change of living. The life you live now is perfectly designed to produce the fruit you're seeing in your life. The life you're living is perfectly designed to produce the fruit you're seeing in your life. And I think this is why Jesus said, if you're going to be my disciple, take up your cross and follow me daily. That's an action. And it's not take up your cross the day you say, quote unquote, the sinner's prayer. Oh, well done, you've taken up your cross today. No, take up your cross daily. And those, we have cross earrings and cross necklaces, and now it's a statement of fashion. For those who are listening to Jesus, there was nothing about, fashionable about that. The cross was brutal, ugly, terrible. When Jesus said that, they knew exactly what he's saying. They probably had just walked by a city's gate and seen people hang on a cross. That's why Peter, right after that, when Jesus says, the Son of Man is going to be killed, he takes him, behind the tent. When people are sitting like this and you want to talk to the leader, you take them behind the tent. And the Bible says Peter rebuked Jesus. Didn't ask Jesus questions. He rebuked Jesus. It's like, what is wrong with you? You don't say such things. You will not die. But Jesus is drawing a very true picture. You see, the reason Peter didn't want Jesus to die is the same reasons I wouldn't want Jesus to die. Because if Jesus dies, he's not just dying for my sins, he's showing me how to die. How to die to myself. How to die to desires that don't glorify him. How to die to greed. I don't want that. So if I were there, I'd also take Jesus behind the tent and okay, too much talk about crosses here. That's what's happened, but Jesus doesn't mince his words. In fact, not too long after that, people stopped following him. And he asked his disciples, are you also going to go? And Peter is always rushing into things. He goes, but where will we go? You have the words of life. And until we realize that Jesus has the words of life, and therefore it is worth everything else, we will be lost even while in the Father's house. So how do you do that? Draw near to him and he will draw near to us. Make a habit of being found in the presence of God. In John 15, Jesus says, if you abide in me and my words in you, I am the vine, you're the branches. There's no way to live this life unless we make a habit of being in the presence of God. And not just on Sunday morning, in the kitchen and with Jesus, on the roads and with Jesus, teaching and with Jesus, cycling and with Jesus, putting the kids to sleep and with Jesus. We must make a habit of being in the presence of God. With recent occurrences at this local church, I hope it's a potent reminder for our need for a Savior. Because what is lost is lost is lost. It cannot find itself. So we turn our eyes on Jesus. The vineyard, I said this last week. We have a low anthropologic view, which means we know human beings are messy. I'm looking in here. Anyway, sorry, I almost got carried away. So we know human beings are messy. It's never if, it's when. It's when. What I didn't say last weekend is that we have a very high view of the kingdom of God. We know that through Jesus, the hope of glory is within reach and transformation is possible. It's possible to become a people who have actually been found, who don't yield to the things of this world. It is possible to be transformed. That's part of what it means for us to have a high view of the kingdom of God. So our job isn't to do more church things. Our job isn't to speak more church language. Our job is to turn our eyes to Jesus and be found in the presence of God. So we look at church exactly as what Jesus called it to be, a hospital for the sick, for you, and the person sitting next to you, and the person standing in front of you. We also look at church as God's hope now and in the future for the world. This is where we form community, we worship God together, and then we teach ourselves to worship God even when we're not together, because in the presence of God is where transformation happens. See, when we are found in the presence of God, He does what only He can do, which is forming us into who we were always meant to be. So if the worship team can come up just for a bit of response time. So how do we do that? Turn our eyes on Jesus. We are a people of presence. Lavington Vineyard, part of your heritage as a church in this movement is we are a people of presence. We like Moses going, oh, okay, God is upset with Moses. They're having, with the children of Israel, they're having this debate. It's like, okay, you guys can go. I'm not coming with you. And Moses goes, oh, whoa. But why would we go without you? We won't go anywhere unless you're coming with us. It's the words of Peter looking at Jesus going, you have the words of life. We are a people of presence. It's not just one more song. It's not just one more prayer. It's not just one more church day. It's about the presence of God. There's no amount of philosophy, theology, church going that can change one's life. But God can. So be found in the presence of God.